This is TW Sports Talk here on YouTube. We're coming off the Philadelphia Eagles OTAs, and yeah, it's going to be rather interesting, I think. Rather interesting as we head in training camp, but certainly definitely one of the big topics coming off these OTAs um, that is especially blown up, um, last Friday is the Kerry Williams, his absence in I believe the majority of the OT. I'm not sure how many OTAs he made, if any, um, but he certainly. Long story short, he certainly found a way to, uh, or ways I should say, to avoid the OTAs in general. Um, Now, I mean, Friday he did a big, he did a rather interesting interview with Mike Missinelli on the Mike Missinelli show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Um, and after that interview, he had some rather interesting things to say, and he defended himself in, why he didn't show up in these OTAs, which I'll go over in a minute. But again, the things really blew up after that interview, after people heard that interview, and it was sent to ESPN. It was that compelling that it was um, it was it was definitely it's definitely a big issue with fans here in the Delaware Valley, in the Philadelphia area. For us Eagle fans and our us Philadelphia sports fans. Um, Now, I'm sorry, Kerry Williams. God, I got a lot of people on my mind, but Kerry Williams, well, for one, for these OTAs, he scheduled somehow his wedding. Him and his wife, they scheduled during OTAs. He got dental work done to miss OTAs. He had to attend his daughter's dance recital or something, um, to miss OTAs, and he also claimed that he was helping to build his new house. Another more reasons to miss these OTAs. Um, and the bottom line is it seems as though he's been finding more reasons, he's been placing more effort towards not coming to OTAs than attending OTAs. And when look, I mean, it's obvious that he's attended all the OTAs when he was with the Baltimore Ravens. He attended every one. Now his explanation was that he's at a different point in his life now, and you know he's experienced. He won a Super Bowl, etc. Um, but as if you want to be a leader on this team, if you're really passionate about helping this Eagles team that is coming off a 4-12 disaster season, um, you, now it's not mandatory, but to be there at least because of the collective bargaining agreement. But in a sense, it's rather important that you are there. And, you know, I can understand, if you got a death in the family, okay, it's fair and logical, I think, then to miss an OTA or some OTAs over that. Um, Firstborn child, or child getting born in general, yeah, I can understand that too. Um, got to see somebody in the hospital in the family, but a wedding, you have to schedule that during the OTAs. You can schedule that. You have months in the off season where you're not really doing much other than working out yourself. I mean, he had the past several months after the Super Bowl that wedding could have been scheduled. Now the dental work, schedule it when it's not an OTA day. Schedule it around the OTAs. Um, the the child his daughter's recital again. I mean, there's going to be other recitals. There's going to be you know more in the future. There's going to be more recitals in the future. Perhaps during when there's not OTAs that maybe he could go to. I mean, the bottom line is you're gonna have to make a little bit of a sacrifice. Um, and everybody, we all gotta miss stuff. We all gotta miss stuff every now and then that you know we don't want to miss. His explanation is that um, he's at a point in his life that he can with his paycheck and all that, and he assumes that you know he's entitled to just go ahead and miss OTAs. And I mean, the only reason they're not mandatory is because of the collective bargaining agreement. He says that if they're mandatory, then I'd show up. But the bottom line is, you're in a regime here where this is a new era. We're coming off a 4-12 season, and the bottom line is, if you're replacing Namdi Asamoah, who had a you know in an easy way to put it, he had a disastrous tenure here.
I agree.
I mean, you're replacing Namdi Asamoah. You come out there week one and you get burned. There's gonna be some get ready to get ready, Kerry Williams, for major fan backlash. Because when you don't take these OTAs too seriously, he attended each one in Baltimore when he was in Baltimore. Now this year he's with the Eagles. You know, now it seems he makes every effort to be absent from the OTAs. And some people say, it's not mandatory, they're not important. You know, if he shows up Sunday and plays hard, that's all that matters. And yeah, I got that. He could as long as he shows up, it won't be an issue if he shows up. But the problem here is that what goes down on those Sundays, part of building what goes down on Sundays, how your team performs on Sundays, is training camp and these OTAs. Now, granted, they're 7-on-7 drills. They don't have pads on, but the bottom line is it's a time of configuring your team. It's an important step in the off season in assembling your squad. And they wouldn't place emphasis on that if they weren't important. Just because they're not required according to the collective bargaining agreement does not mean they don't serve a purpose. And it would certainly have been beneficial for Kerry Williams to be there. That's all we're saying. And if he comes out, he comes out week one, he gets an interception. He anchors the defense pretty well. His at cornerback. Then all may be forgotten. But if he comes out and he gets burned, he gets exposed in the secondary, then people are going to really have distaste for this guy. And they're going to look back at stuff like missing these OTAs, and they're really not going to like him for it. And I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, he's got to understand here what is at stake as far as his reputation with the fans goes. He said in this interview on 97.5, he said he did not really care what the fans thought of this. Um, Mike Missinelli asked him, uh, if does it matter to you how the fans feel about you? And he didn't really say that he didn't really care. He didn't essentially that he didn't really care how the fans felt. And that's I mean, well, the fans get right. Then don't you can't complain then when if there's major backlash if you come up short when it's game time. Um, and in just a few months, it's going to be game time, and you got to wonder if him missing these OTAs, if his attitude is really there for this Philadelphia Eagles team. Because if his heart is more with his family, then we got that. He's trying to be a good dad, but in the NFL, this job where you get paid millions of dollars, because the fans are the fans kind of provide that money essentially and fuel the market of the NFL. It changes things a little differently when you're getting paid this much. A career in the NFL, a good long career, successful career in the NFL. I mean, that sets you up for life, golden, financially, the whole 9 yards, the big house, the cars, all that. Essentially, with this money is given he doesn't blow it all like some athletes do. Um, essentially he's getting the money to be set up for life, and it's in the span of 10 to 15 years. Essentially, that's it's setting him up for life, and you can't. There are different ways I think that things work. You're in as a professional athlete, football comes first in this case. Um, Now again, especially when you can schedule a wedding. It could have been scheduled before this. It could have maybe been scheduled between these OTAs and training camp. I mean, it's boggling a lot of fans' minds as to why it seems that he has been, you know, he's been he's been trying harder to get out of OTAs than actually being there. It seems, and it's definitely raised a lot of questions about whether he's going to come out and really perform this season for the Eagles. Whether he's going to be prepared. Hopefully, hopefully he is. Um, because every little thing can really be important towards building a successful franchise, a successful season, etc. Um, not that we're expecting a big playoff year here with the Eagles or anything coming off this the you know destruction of the Andy Reid era essentially. But we don't want to see another 4-12 year. That's for sure. We shouldn't. But if we were to, and it was because of a guy, because it was a lack of performance, perhaps coming from a guy like Kerry Williams, then we've got a problem, and that's we can't. Obviously, we don't want to have to witness something like that. So whether the bottom line is this will all be forgotten if he performs this coming season. If he performs well week one especially, that's going to be a big game for him. specifically because of this issue. But until then, this is kind of going to be looked at as an issue. Um, and, you know, there's logical reasons as to why it can be considered an issue. All the buzz with the fans, etc. With this franchise trying to move forward. And, Kerry Williams can try to justify himself as much as he wants. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of fans, people like myself, Mike Missinelli, who interviewed him in a rather interesting interview, that have logical reasons as to, why this wasn't, him missing all these OTAs kind of leaves a bad taste in our mouths. And he put himself in a position now where if he fails in the season, he does not perform, he's going to get a huge barrage of angry fans. So hopefully Kerry Williams, with that in mind, um, hopefully he didn't really need these OTAs. Hopefully he's going to come out and really perform this year, or else